Welcome everyone to the fourth Virtual Island Summit, the Virtual Island Summit 2020. My name is James Ellsmore and I am the CEO of Island Innovation. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you yet again. I really can't believe it's the fourth year we've hosted this event. You should shortly see a poll on your screen that will give you a couple of questions so we know who is joining us. And I'd be delighted if while you're answering that, you can also post a quick hello in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're joining from. I've just enabled the chat settings, so you're able to go ahead and do that. It'll be great to see. I can see over 200 people in here already, and participants from the Caribbean, from the Pacific, from Northern Europe, from the Philippines, Orkney. Amazing to see so many people joining us. Okay, so Cayman Islands, Barbados, Eastern Caribbean, Amsterdam, Guadeloupe. Okay, they're coming in now. Indonesia, St. Lucia, Malta. This is what I love about this event, is always seeing the huge diversity of people joining from around the world. And now those introductions are coming in so fast, I can't even keep up with them. So I'll quickly just share the poll for this session. Around a third of you from the Caribbean, people from North America, Europe, Asia, even a few from the Pacific, even though it's early for you all. We have a real range of people joining from across academia, civil society, governments, and interestingly, a lot from the private sector. And then people, again, representing a whole range of different industries. Hopefully you can see all of that polling information on your screen, but it looks like the tourism and innovation and also the ocean conservation sectors are the biggest ones this year. And that's what I love about the Virtual Island Summit. We cover so many different topics relevant to islands about sustainable development. And it really shows how interlinked all of these different topics are. As I mentioned, I'm delighted that this is the fourth Virtual Island Summit. We started back in the day when there was this thing called Zoom that we were telling you about, and often people were downloading Zoom for the first time. And of course, the world has changed beyond recognition in many respects in those last 4 years. And I'm happy to say that Island Innovation has evolved too during that time. This year, we'll have over 40 sessions with around 150 speakers, close to 10,000 attendees joining from hundreds, if not thousands of islands. As you can see in the chat, a really wide variety of people joining us. And all of our sessions will be available here on the Zoom and also streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And everything will be available in our Island Innovation Library on the website. And our goal here is to create a really amazing resource on island information on all these topics from the summits over the years that is now searchable on our website. So you can look at everything that is of interest and of course find all the sessions that you're missing, because I'm sure even the most dedicated of you won't be able to join every session this week. Just to remark, 4 years at Island Innovation since our first conference have really flown by. It's amazing to see that. And we now have a team of 15 people working, stretching from Barbados to Portugal to the Philippines, everyone working remotely, bringing their island's perspective to our team. We really rely on the support of all of you, the people who've joined this movement over the years, to unite islands around the world for this cause of sustainable development. And our perspective is that islands of all sizes can benefit from this kind of collaboration, regardless of their development status or political status. Of course, the Shetland Islands, Samoa, and St. Lucia, to use 3 examples, are all very, very different places. But there are these commonalities that connect them. And what we've really noticed is that across these global islands, there are huge opportunities to share information. And it's been really a privilege to see the collaborations that have emerged out of this program. We really focus on opportunities and we look for solutions. And so seeing these collaborations emerge out of this network has been a real privilege for us. So what is island innovation? Some of you know, have known us for many years, but I always find that people have a different interpretation because we do so many different things. And many people see only one slice of the breadth of what we do. So I think it's really important to say beyond the Virtual Island Summit, what are we doing for the rest of the year, and also highlight opportunities to get involved. So Island Innovation is a network, it's a media platform, and it's a creative agency. The network really connects all the global islands that I've already mentioned and more, and also connects across public, private, civil society, and the academic sectors, all of which are really key to working on sustainable development, yet have a very different approach to these issues. The media platform, many of you will be familiar with our newsletter that goes out every week. Our team put a lot of work into gathering relevant island news every week for the newsletter and sharing that on our social media platforms and through events like this. And then thirdly, the creative agency. We are proud to have delivered projects across digital communications, public relations, and destination marketing, among other things, for respected clients like the Waite Institute, the Caribbean Climate Smart Accelerator, Oxfam, and various island governments and private companies that value our skills and ability to bring the network and information together. There'll be opportunities to learn more about that throughout the week, including a couple of specific sessions for those of you interested. But before we dive into the Virtual Island Summit 2022, I just wanted to highlight a few other things that we have planned for the year ahead, things to look out for. Firstly, the Ambassador Program. The Ambassador Program is run by our dedicated team. We currently have 400 ambassadors participating, and that's a year-long commitment that people join to really learn skills, benefit from the network, and contribute to this island innovation movement. So there'll be an opportunity later this year to join, and you can already submit an interest on the website for the year ahead. We're also launching an academic council to bring together universities and academic institutions to benefit from the network and also publish academic resources in an accessible way for our community to take advantage of. So do look out for the Academic Council. I'm really pleased to announce that next year we have plans underway for our first Island Innovation Live. That will be a physical conference. We're going the opposite way from starting virtual and launching a physical event. And so we don't have any specifics to announce just yet, but we're looking to talk to various island governments or island organizations that will be willing to partner with us to bring Island Innovation Live as a conference to your island. And the goal here is to have a series of conferences around the world, bringing this sustainable development movement on the ground to different island communities. And then finally, or not finally, we have many others, but finally for now, we're launching our accelerator programs. And so we'll be working to deliver impact accelerators that can work with startups, activists, or other ideas to help move ideas into action. And we have a new dedicated team member, Kata, who some of you may have already met, who is leading that movement. And again, if you're interested, you should see a link in the chat. And you'll find more information on our website where you can learn about the accelerator program. Plus, there'll be another session later this week talking with various accelerators about what that means and why they have a really good fit for islands. So with that, I'd like to just give a big thank you to all of you who've signed up, all of you who are here and participating with us for this opening session. And of course, all the speakers giving their time and expertise towards this week. And really, it's the speakers that bring so much to this event for it to make it happen. And of course, to all of the Island Innovation team who have been working behind the scene for many months to make this program into reality. So we couldn't have done it without you. And I'm so proud to have such a great team who hopefully you'll get to meet throughout the week that really make Island Innovation what it is. I'd also like to give a thanks to our sponsors. This event, of course, relies on sponsors every year to be able to bring this movement together. And so without our sponsors, we would not be able to hold this. And I would encourage you to join some of our sponsored sessions throughout the week. So our gold sponsors, the Waite Institute, that I think has come back for three years at least now to sponsor various sessions. We'll be holding a great session later on today. Buzzmaker, who we've worked with over the years as well. And we really appreciate the work of Matt and his team. We also have our silver sponsors, some of which are new this year. So the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency in the Cayman Islands, and wishing all of our colleagues in the Cayman Islands to be safe while I know there's a hurricane passing over today, and we really our thoughts are with all of you, and we hope there's not too much of an impact from that today. Also to Stop Ecocide Foundation in collaboration with the government of Vanuatu, which will be holding 2 very interesting sessions this week, and to the Edge Foundation, which works on education for island communities. And you'll get to hear from the director, Ollie, later on today. They've come back again after several years, and we really appreciated your continued support for the event. The bronze sponsors, all of whom we've worked with multiple times. So Our Energy, Le Village by Crédit Agricole, the Island Institutes in Maine, the Interreg ICE project, and the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund, who you'll get to hear from the CEO, Karen McDonald-Gale, later on today for a really good session. So all of the bronze sponsors as well, thank you to you. And then finally, our partners, there's too many to mention them all, but we appreciate various partners that we've collaborated with to bring in various expertise sessions and also to help communicate this to a wider audience. So do go to our website and check out the partners that you see listed here. Thank you to all of you. Just before I go to our speaker, a few practical notes. The sessions this week will all be available on Zoom. You'll receive email reminders, and we encourage you to go and check out those email reminders. You can tailor them, so you can receive reminders for all sessions or just certain tracks if you are only interested in those tracks. So this year we have 8 different tracks on climate adaptation, circular economy, sustainable tourism, agriculture. They're all listed on the website. And you can tailor the emails to receive notifications for specific tracks or all of them if you prefer. You can also go to the website and add to your calendar all the sessions so you don't miss any. We have a great tool that allows you to add all the sessions into your calendar and would encourage you to do so there. And finally, the agenda is, of course, on the website. And if you like, you'll see a button on the website that says download the agenda, where you'll find all the session information in a document with all the links and individual speakers. So if you prefer, you can also download the agenda there. Now I'm delighted to invite, I'm delighted to move forward to have this one of our, such an incredible speaker. Sorry, I'm lost for words that we have this speaker joining us. One of the world leaders that I really admire most will be coming up shortly. And in order to introduce the speaker, I would like to invite to the stage Senator Chanela Govia from Antigua and Barbuda. Senator Govia is another rising star in the Caribbean. and was the youngest ever elected senator in Antigua and Barbuda. So we're very happy to have you here, Senator Govia, and I'll hand over to you for the introduction of our keynote speaker.
Thank you very much. It is my distinct pleasure to be here with you at the Virtual Island Summit. This is indeed an impressive and important event that is connecting thousands of island professionals from all across the world. The Honorable Mia Motley needs no introduction. You just need to pick up the cover of Times Magazine, which she has graced as one of the 100 most influential people in the world, or you need to turn on the television and see her addressing COP26 with the prime ministers and presidents of the superpowers all in attendance. Her list of accomplishments are long, from things as grand as leading her country to republic status, to things as nuts and bolts as fixing Barbados' broken bus system. You see, in politics, the reality is sometimes it is more important that you patch up the pothole than it is in making major strides towards lowering your carbon footprint. The Honorable Prime Minister Mia Motley has done both. We in the Caribbean see Prime Minister Motley as more than just the leader of Barbados. She's a leader for our entire region. She speaks for us, especially for women of our region. And for that leadership, we are eternally grateful. Prime Minister Motley was dealt a tough economic card when she entered office. But she not only is stabilizing her country, but she also has a big vision to transform Barbados and indeed the region. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce you to the Honorable Prime Minister, Mia Motley. Prime Minister.
Good day to all. It is a great pleasure to join you here today for the opening of the 2022 Virtual Island Summit. I believe the concept of a zero carbon conference specifically for island nations is nothing short of a blessing. It gives us all the ability to further embrace digital technologies, and in so doing, gives us the opportunity to share, learn, and grow together. To that extent, I congratulate Island Innovation for establishing this important activity. This conference is happening at an important time for us all, as it takes place between the recently held United Nations General Assembly, where we shared our experiences, our challenges, and our hopes, and indeed COP27 in Egypt, where we will place into focus the continued battle against the ongoing climate crisis. My dear colleagues, while it is indeed a joy for me to be here with you today, I speak to you against a backdrop I believe that we are unfortunately all too familiar with. I speak to you facing the reality where the world as we know it is in real danger of becoming the world as we knew it. Regrettably, nations like ours are already suffering tremendously from the effects of not just the climate crisis, but indeed the war in Ukraine that has shaken the world's systems to its core. Food security challenges have emerged, and overall a global system that does not ensure the prosperity of our people, particularly as it faces the cancer of inflation. These issues, while daunting, are known. But what is equally known is that we do not face them alone, for we face them together as a community. You know, there's an old proverb that I'm sure we're all familiar with, that it takes a village to raise a child. In this case, if the ideas and solutions we give birth to are to grow and to reach their potential, it will take the attention of each and every one of us. But we know how to do this. As islanders, we know that to live is to share, to be creative, and to be resourceful. That's our life. And that is why I'm certain we can and will apply these same qualities that we as islanders share. And during this virtual island summit, find solutions to the common problems we all face. Certainly, Barbados stands ready to share its experiences with fellow members at the summit. In responding to these global challenges by applying our instilled spirit of resilience and innovation, we hope that we can achieve much. In the battle against the global challenges confronting us, we have taken action by becoming the largest issuer of sovereign bonds with natural disaster clauses. Recognizing the COVID-19 pandemic, which has wreaked havoc on our economy, will not be the only pandemic that we will face, we've also now inserted what we believe may well be the world's first pandemic clause in our recently launched Blue Bonds project with the Inter-American Development Bank and nature conservancy. This ambitious debt conversion program will allow us to sustainably manage at least 30% of our ocean resources by unlocking around 40 to 50 million US dollars over the next 15 years into a maritime conservation trust. And we will supplement those funds both from governmental and non-governmental sources in our efforts to sustainably protect that marine space and, of course, to enhance our marine biodiversity. On the renewable energy front, Barbados remains one of the leading countries in the world in terms of solar water heaters per capita. And as a government, we have recently embarked on an innovative sustainable program making provision for every Barbadian homeowner to have the right to own and install photovoltaic systems on their roofs, lowering electricity costs for Barbadians while reducing our reliance indeed on fossil fuel-based electricity. Meanwhile, we have led the region in renewable energy-driven public transport, acquiring 49 electric buses for our transport board and about to acquire more, making it one of the largest fleets of electric buses in the region, if not the largest, and saving the government millions of dollars and benefiting indeed the environment in which we live. In keeping with the spirit of this message, the truth is that the government cannot do it alone. We recognize the private sector has a critical role to play in helping us to find and achieve these solutions. And it is for that reason that we have fast-tracked policies that will encourage social enterprises that can solve local problems and then be scaled to the regional and international level. The climate crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, or indeed the slow motion and silent pandemic that is antimicrobial resistance, the effects of the war in Ukraine, the disruption of the supply chain, these are not just issues for governments. These are issues for all of us, for everyone. Let us treat the solutions likewise. Again, I speak as a leader of just one of the many nations gathered here for this virtual island summit. But I believe that all of us are ready to work hand in hand with each other to find collective solutions to those things we all confront as island nations. I truly believe that this conference can be one of the catalysts for making the change we so often speak about a reality. And I hope over the coming days, all of us gathered here can use this opportunity to address those matters that matter to each of us and ultimately to the world in which we live. I wish you all a successful virtual island summit, and let us ensure that we improve the lives of those for whom we have responsibility. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for taking the time in your very busy schedule right after the UN General Assembly to share that message with us. I think it goes exactly with the spirit of the Virtual Island Summit and what we are trying to achieve this week. And so it's really important that we have leaders like Prime Minister Motley sharing with us their goals for all of us to learn from. Now I would like to move over to our press conference and introduce some of our partners who will be joining us. We'll have several partners and speakers who will come onto the stage shortly. So you should now be able to come and share and turn on your cameras. There'll be a couple of questions, and really we'll just be exploring what we have for the week ahead. And also we'll have several journalists joining us who'll also be asking questions and sharing their perspectives too. So I think to start off, I'll quickly just introduce the four panelists we have here. So firstly, Shana Brody is joining us from the Waite Institute. I mentioned earlier, the Waite Institute is one of our sponsors and has been for several years. Likewise, Ollie Newton, the director of the Edge Foundation, who also worked with us for several years on developing sessions. Masao Ashtina from the Cesare academic journal, who will be organizing a session on Sunday. and we can share a little bit about that. And then we also have Anushka Vasha Sonai, who is one of the Island Innovation Ambassadors, who will share some thoughts on that program. So before we go to the questions, and I invite the journalists to ask questions, I'll go to each of the speakers I just mentioned in that order, just to share a little bit about the program and the sessions that they have coming up this week. So Shana, your session is coming up later on today. Go to you first.
Hey, James, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your entire team. It's been really great to be a part of the Virtual Island Summit. I think this is our 3rd year. So I'm Shana Brody. I'm the Director of Media and Communications at the Waite Institute, and we are a nonprofit that works globally with islands to support and advance ocean management. So we really have the honor of working with island leaders and communities who are really leading the planet in ocean sustainability and stewardship. And so right now we have partnerships in the Azores, Barbuda, Bermuda, Curacao, Federated States of Micronesia, Fiji, the Maldives, Samoa, and Tonga. So we have a really great amount of island leadership to learn from. And for the past 2 virtual island summits, we've hosted an event called Hometown Heroes, and that was really to celebrate the people who are working, acting locally. This year, we're focusing on what we have heard a lot at other conferences is a key topic, which is sustainable finance. And we're focusing on the Pacific specifically. So how to get to 30% marine protection and 100% ocean management. So 100 countries, more than 100 countries have called for 30% of the ocean, but we really need to figure out the mechanisms and tools to finance this sustainably. So our event will be at 5 p.m. California time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and for the Pacific tomorrow morning. So we really hope that you can tune in because we have a really incredible lineup of speakers from economists to Pacific leaders. And I think it's going to be a really great event. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Shana. Now to Ollie.
Hello, everyone. It's really lovely to be with you, and this is such an exciting event. So I'm the Executive Director of the Edge Foundation. We, like Shana, work on education. Our take on it is all about trying to make education really relevant to young people's lives, helping them to develop the kind of skills they might need for the future. We run a network of islands around the world as well, looking at that kind of particular theme. I'm always struck when we invite new colleagues along that wherever they are from in the world, when they share a bit about their system and the way the education system works, I catch everyone else on Zoom nodding along, being like, yep, that's exactly the same for us. Yep, that's exactly the same for us. And it really just shows how, as James said in his study piece, there are so many similarities and things that as islands we can kind of learn from each other. One of the things that everyone that we work with is brilliant at is that kind of theme of innovation and using the fact of kind of small size, ability to kind of know your community really, really well, to change things and try things really effectively. And so the theme of our session this year is all about education research, trying new things, understanding what works, and then sharing that. So we'll have examples from several different places around the world, including some of the islands around the UK, sharing what they've done, but also hearing from the researchers who are working with them to understand how to share those ideas. So keep up the innovation. We'll keep up the research and sharing it, and we'll look forward to making this another really good summit. And here's the future as well.
Thank you, Ollie. Masao?
Hi, everyone, wherever you are. Thanks so much for the introductions as well, Ollie and Shana, and James, of course. So I'm Masao Ashdeen, co-founder, managing director from CESA, Caribbean Environmental Sciences and Renewable Energy. I know that's a mouthful, but what we do is a bit more on the shorter side, where we're summarizing the sort of academic outputs that we have in the Caribbean, the brilliant minds that we have, giving them a sort of proud presentation for their work, as well as dissemination to a wider group of audiences, industry, NGOs, bringing them together, and then creating sort of sustainable impact from that academic output. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Obviously, we've been following what Virtual Island Summit has been doing for quite some time. Pretty much really involved with, we love all that they do pretty much. And what we did last year at Virtual Island Summit, as the Prime Minister said, it's a great opportunity to have this, and it's nothing short of remarkable to have this on a virtual, sustainable scale. And what we did last year was we had a panel called Breaking Echo Chambers. And that was sort of along the lines of, we often talk to the same people, too much. And so how do we sort of crack those echo chambers open and say, okay, look, let's reach new horizons. So I mean, even when I'm looking at the participants here, scrolling through, I see a lot of familiar names, but it's more comforting that I see people that I have no idea who they are. And I think that's really, really good, because then I feel like we can share more things, bring more insight in, learn from others, more diverse perspectives. And so the panel that we have this year, we're switching gear, and then I think what we wanted to work with is with Eco5s this year with Khadija Stewart, who will be moderating the panel session, with 6 islanders from Hawaii to Palau to Papua New Guinea to Fiji to Trinidad and Tobago. I forgot one there, but it will come to me. But pretty much we have a panel session on youth activism. So what exactly are the major roadblocks that we see from youth activists, and giving them a platform to really express their sort of honest opinion in terms of why politicians may not be taking them seriously, or do politicians take them seriously, and what was the outcome, and how they sort of overcome these things to create sort of like measurable impact. Because I think the youth need a little bit more shine, because they're doing the work that some of us just don't have the energy to do. So with that said, back to you, James. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much. And those are three fantastic panels of the many this week that I'm looking forward to. Finally, Anushka, you have a slightly different angle as one of our Island Innovation ambassadors, not organizing a session, but having been involved with the program this year. Would you like to share a little bit about your experience and what you're looking forward to achieving this week?
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the team who's organizing this summit and for having me here. And I will explain it a little bit with a small story, personal story about myself. Ever since I was a small girl, a little girl, I used to get confronted with the idea, with the fact that most of our family and friends were leaving our countries to live abroad. And for all like special occasions, we were missing them. And, you know, we were like, why can't we not be together? And the answer was always that they have left our country to live somewhere else, to have a better life. And it made me think, whenever I spoke with them and they would visit the country, they would also always talk about how they miss Suriname, how they miss our own country. And I see that in Trinidad the same, in Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica, wherever I go, wherever I meet people in the Caribbean, they all talk about their families living abroad and not here with them. And everyone is missing each other. So it made me think, if you miss your country so much, why don't you live here? Why can't we have a better life? Because that's the reason everyone tells us, for a better life, they are moving ahead. So why can't we not have a better life, better education, and better futures right here in the Caribbean, or right wherever you are? And in search of those answers, I started to learn more about, work on developing a sustainable digital ecosystem right here in the Caribbean. We are from Creative Tech Hub Caribbean. That's the company that we have founded. And it's a platform of technology companies, educational institutes, and an NGO where we bring together education and the industries where talents can learn, work, and grow into professionals that can work on an international level. With that, we hope to achieve a diversification of the economy in the Caribbean, but also to create a better life here. I strongly believe that if we come together and work on sustainable development of our countries and all the countries around us, that we can achieve the level of development that is required to offer a good life in the Caribbean. And that is exactly what I find in the Island Innovation Program. The Island Innovation Ambassadors Program brings us all together, and it raises the awareness and engagement amongst people who can work on sustainable development, and it empowers us to create an inclusive society. It's like a platform for inclusion and sustainability. So that is why I signed up for the Ambassadors Program, and I have been attending some of the sessions. I haven't been able to attend all of them because of the times. Some of them I had to watch the recordings, but when I saw the information about the Virtual Island Summit, I knew that I had to host this here, do a local screening here in Suriname, so more of the people from my country could get engaged and see what it takes to connect with others and create a good life right here in the Caribbean. And that's why this Wednesday we are hosting local screening here, and we have sent out emails to over 500 people. We have posted it on social media. So I hope that more of the people from my country will engage with Island Innovation Program, and next year you have more ambassadors from Suriname. Thank you so much for the wonderful work that you are doing. And let's work together on creating an inclusive, sustainable digital economy.
Thank you so much to all of you, and to Anushka, that was a fantastic summary. You did mention about the time zone issue, and I did want to remark, I'm very happy to have so many Caribbean speakers joining us today for this session. But there is a global summit that's taking place, and so we have other sessions that will have a big representation from the Pacific region. It's the middle of the night there right now. And also, as you see in the chat, there are people joining from across Europe, Africa, and Asia as well. And so hopefully you'll see that reflected in the week's events. So Climate Tracker is one of our partners for the week. I think they do amazing work. And so we have two journalists joining us here. I'd be happy to invite you all to answer questions, and also Dizan, maybe we start with you and you can just say a few words about Climate Tracker as well, and why you're involved.
Thank you so much, James. I'm really happy to be here and among this really awesome panel. Climate Tracker, we're basically an international network of climate and environmental journalists. And what we do is create opportunities for young people to get training, to build their capacity to report on climate and environmental issues. So we do offer training opportunities as well as publishing opportunities. And right now we're actually really focused on the Caribbean. And we have a lot of opportunities for the Caribbean right now related to climate change, related to the energy transition, related to citizens journalism and climate justice. So that's what we do. And this year we also have a team that's going to be at COP reporting on what is happening at COP, basically. So that is what Climate Tracker is about. And this week I'm really looking forward to moderating one of the discussions around linkages between SIDS and the African region. So I'm really happy to be here, James. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. So we'll move on to some questions. Would also invite, I know we have two journalists here on camera, but there are also some journalists who are attendees. And so you can submit any other questions through the Q&A option. Not the chat. The chat is getting very busy, so it's a bit hard for me if you see them there. But maybe Tyrell, we can start with you if you have any questions about the program for any of the people here, or about what's trying to achieve. I know you're reporting specifically on climate impacts in the region, looking ahead towards COP later on this year.
Hi, good morning from Trinidad and Tobago. It's morning here. I'm very honored to be a participant in this morning's proceeding. In regards to the summit, firstly, I'd just like to say, congratulations to Island Innovation for putting together, such an incredible program. I definitely believe in the power of empowerment through education, and I definitely believe if we had to move the needle and help make any progress on the issue of climate change and sustainable development, it begins with education and developing our knowledge in these fields. On the topic of youth and youth development, one could argue that there's a youth employment crisis throughout the Caribbean, throughout the world. So I just want to know about the feasibility, and I know Anushka would have touched a bit on it in terms of youth development and engaging them in the sustainable development process. I'd like to know if any of our speakers would like to maybe expand on what they are currently doing or what encouragements you'll give to governments to engage young people in climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, by also, reserving employment opportunities for them in those areas. So in a way, we kind of make it a partnership in terms of solving the issue of youth unemployment, but also engaging youth in climate activities. So I'd like to know of any ongoing efforts, or what, your opinions on the feasibility of this strategy.
A great question, and definitely something we'll be addressing this week. Who would like to take that one first? Maybe Masao, I can put you on the spot, as your session does specifically address youth, and then we can go to Ollie afterwards.
Luckily, I was about to unclick mute, James, so you got away. Yeah, you certainly don't ask easy questions, Tyrell, that's for sure. I think it's a whole sort of myriad of things that are needed. I think it all leads back to the education opportunity, as you mentioned. I think there's a large disparity, especially in climate change and renewable energy education. Having been a lecturer at Mona in Jamaica, I've seen firsthand that the opportunity just does not exist in many sort of capacities. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault, one person's fault or one organization's fault. It's a collection of things. It's a legacy of things. And I think that there needs to be more opportunity at a very early stage into integrating the youth into policy decisions, policy making. I think we can't just say that because the youth aren't, and I use that term broadly, but obviously of many different pockets of youth. But just because the youth aren't fully educated or degreed in certain things means that they can't be at a boardroom table. I think perspective, as sort of simple as the questions may be, help. I mean, this is their future, right? And we're making a lot of decisions on their behalf. At least ask them the question. So I think at least capacity building from a very young age, inclusion, as well as sort of internship opportunities, so that even though they may not be getting, that massive stipend to buy them a house, at least they get an opportunity through wealth and education and knowledge sharing that will be able to equip them for the future. And I think also, on the other hand, the education system needs a massive makeover in terms of preparing our youth for a different world. I think if I look at the curriculum where I was back in Trinidad and Tobago, and I look at the curriculum now, it's changed. We have more environmental sciences and inclusion, but I think, does it prepare us for the world that's coming? I'm not too sure about that. And I think, this needs a bit more of a ground up approach in revamping our curriculum to make sure that it's one for the world coming ahead. So, but you don't ask easy questions, so I don't think I even answer that. So.
Thanks, Masa. I'm sure we'll cover that some more in your session at the end of the week as well. Ollie?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks, Masao. This is such an important topic. So I wanted to give a hopeful answer, which was that I think that most islands are further ahead than mainland jurisdictions in terms of integrating climate change and ocean issues into the curriculum, and I think there's a lot that they can learn from you. So to give one positive example, one of the schools that we've been working with on the Isle of Wight, which is off the kind of south coast of England, they've developed a school level curriculum that links everything back to their maritime history. So they learn history through the history of exploration and a really critical history of what happened in kind of previous centuries. They learn geography through island nations. They learn biology through going down to the seashore and understanding the marine biology there, and it's really helped to engage those students. So it's like a win-win. They're learning about climate and they're learning about the kind of nation and the kind of area that they're in, but at the same time it's bringing the curriculum to life and hopefully kind of engaging them more. And the nice thing is that they are now sharing that same curriculum with 20 coastal schools on mainland England. So it's a chance to kind of build something in an island jurisdiction, which is really innovative, the theme of today, but then also see that kind of expanding into other nations as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for those answers, everyone. Anushka, were you going to add something there?
Yes, please. Thank you. I completely agree with what Ashteen said. I think it's important to work on the capacity building and education. And maybe because I have the students and the companies together in my hub, that I can say that also companies need to rethink how they do employment, like how do we employ our people and what do we offer them? Young people, and I know that from experience with working with very young ones from the age of 18 and younger, but up until 30 years, they don't want to work the typical 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. And they want to have the ability to grow into their own like person and their brand building. And the work-life balance is different. I usually don't refer to work-life balance because life is also happening while you're working. So it's always life, but the happiness, the purpose-drivenness, I think we as companies, as owners, as private sector should look into how are we going to offer that environment that our new employees and new thinking employees need. We are living in a post-pandemic world, and the pandemic has made clear to us what really matters. It's not just work, but it's working with a purpose. It's being happy, but also feeling content about what you're doing. So I think it's on both ends, and I completely agree with the education needing to have a whole overhaul, and I'm completely on with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say our ambassador program, in that sense, it's not a youth specific program. We have people from age 16 to 75 taking part, but we do have a strong youth contingent within that. But part of the value of having that whole range of ages is also the ability to build a network and connect with people with different levels of experience within the program, which I think we found has been very successful. To wrap up, I don't know, Dizan, if you have a question.
Yes, I do have a question. I hope it's okay that this question is kind of directed to one of the panelists. But for myself, really and truly, one of the issues that I have, seen coming up so much over the years working in this sector is that problem of knowledge sharing and knowledge management in the Caribbean. And really, it's something that a lot of media professionals have brought up in terms of not having access to the science, not having access to the studies. And so that's why I think CISA is really interesting. It's a really good concept. So I'd just like to hear from you, your inspiration to start it, and maybe some of the challenges that you've faced over the years and how you've overcome them, and what is the future for the organization.
Also a hard one, Dizan. I think in summary, because I could go on for a long time. I think you're right. I think, we often have to rely on academic sources that are sort of formulated in the Caribbean, published in foreign entities, and then we can't even access it back at home because it's behind a paywall. Even for the universities to be able to join some of these subscriptions, they're extremely expensive. And even though open access is becoming more of a thing, it does also come at a cost. Running a journal is just not an easy thing. Having running a journal myself, I can say that firsthand. I think the biggest issue is that we are not able to celebrate the brilliant minds that we have in the Caribbean. I think, and this ties to your inspiration, I found when I was doing my PhD and finalizing, and the whole point of CISA is that very often I just found people getting too excited that the keynote speaker was outside our region. And if it were in our region, it's like, oh, we didn't have enough budget. And I just found that sort of deplorable, that we're not taking pride in our own sort of minds, that we do not, and I'm not saying ignore away, I'm saying work with away and recognize at home. And so that was a sort of inspiration to how do we break these barriers? How do we make the information more accessible? For instance, every article published in CISA has an upcycle where we contact NGOs in the topic to say, look, this author has published on these issues. How about you are doing the work at the grassroots level? This might help your work. How about you connect with the author and see what can happen, so that we don't have a bunch of articles reaching a dusty bookshelf and nothing gets done and it's woohoo, I have an article, but what are you actually doing? So that's what we want to do in terms of knowledge sharing. And then with that comes the podcast, the magazine that we have that really sort of disseminates that in a sort of innovative, youth-driven idea. So we have 15 interns, all of them youth, the youngest being 17. So you can't say we don't hire young. And that is somebody who is brilliant, going off to Stanford soon, designing our website. So I think, again, it comes back to opportunity. It comes back to just sort of recognizing the talent that we have in the Caribbean and across SIDS, because of course the Caribbean is just one little part of this sort of global endeavor. I think that's more or less it, because I'll just go on too long and James will mute me, I'm sure.
No, that was great, actually. And although slightly different angle, but I wanted to call on Shayna just to wrap up, because I think the Wait Institute has an interesting approach by taking very different, by working with very different islands from the Azores to the Pacific to the Caribbean. Obviously noting that those are very different places, but in the same spirit as island innovation, they share common issues, common opportunities to address. So maybe from that perspective, you can, add, if there's anything for you to add, Shayna.
Yeah, thank you, James. I think you hit the nail on the head. All of these places are so different. They're facing unique challenges, but there are so many spaces and areas for collaboration, for knowledge sharing, for exchange, to learn from each other. I have learned so much and feel so honored to be able to travel to these places and learn from all of these different people who are really forging a path for all of us. And I think the more that we can get each other in a virtual room and a real room and learn from each other, what I've seen is huge leaps and bounds in the way that conversations evolve just from getting smart people together to talk about this stuff. So I really appreciate you bringing us all together, and I'm really excited for this week.
Great, thank you so much. With that, I will bring this session to a close, but I wanted to highlight that we have coming up now the networking session. So we talked about the opportunity for networking, for sharing information, for meeting other people. And so in just over 5 minutes, you can jump to our other platform, which is called Remo. If you haven't used Remo before, it's a really interesting opportunity to participate, like as close as you can get to a physical conference, where you can actually contribute, talk to people, meet people, as opposed to just listening. So would really encourage you to jump in. You should see the links in the chat, and also if you signed up in the agenda, those links will be emailed to you. If you've not used Remo before, then there is a slight learning curve. It's a new platform, but you don't need to download anything. You just jump into your browser and join that. So I hope as many of you as possible can jump over to join us in Remo shortly. As I said, that link should be appearing in the chat and is also in the agenda. Later on today, we've got several really interesting sessions. In a couple of hours, there'll be an Island Stories session with our partner, the Caribbean Biodiversity Fund, which I would really encourage you to join also. But in the meantime, we will jump over to the networking session. See you there. Looking forward to meeting with you and continuing the conversation. Thanks to everyone who's joined us for this, and really excited to see everything that's going to come out of this week. Okay, thank you very much and see you soon.